Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all of my students. Today we move on to next topic is about crop production. So this topic pretty much quite interesting for us to go along with our syllabus. And under crop production, we want to focus right now for the land preparation, as well as we want to look into detail about the tillage implement, the category, and also the different type of the design also. Right, if you look at our timeline, so the crop production pretty much our major focus, and in this topic will be for the land preparation. Before it's actually farm efficiency will be one of them, but we can actually do it after this topic, topic number 6, uh, which is you need to understand first what type of implement that's actually involved, so then eventually you'll be able to calculate the farm efficiency. Okay, so next, so as the outline for this topic, so I will cover a bit on history, type of tillage. Normally we have a category of the tillage. Either we call it either fall under primary tillage, secondary tillage, or there is another one, the operation we call it no-till operation, which is the meaning is no tillage operation for the cultivation, crop cultivation. Historically, this is very simple tools for the tillage, wooden plow tillage, made from Egypt in the 2300, sorry, 3000 before century, and normally these tools utilized either by human and also by animal. And this is another example how the two-wheel plow and with a coulter and a moldboard was designed in Europe. So pretty much they took advantage of the animal power draft from the draft fork, so to operate for the crop production. And if you see, this is modernized, well, a bit modernized agriculture machinery for growing plants. In this case is incorporation of growing plants, grass and manure and other material on the surface. So the purpose of this is actually to prepare the land that can be suited for the next growing season. The tillage is a mechanical manipulation of soil to provide favorable condition for crop production. So the mechanism of the tillage, including the breaking the compact surface on earth up to a certain depth. The depth is depend on the plant species. For example, corn versus paddy or rice. It has a different root system, root depth. So we have to alter the pulverization of the soil at different depth. And the mechanism also involved to loosen the soil mass to enable the root growth. The tillage objective, like I said, other than to pulverize the soil, is also to develop the seed bed or root bed prior to the cultivation. Other than that, because of the tillage operation itself, you will be able to do some kind of like a mechanical weed control, and also with crop residue management, we can incorporate to the soil so that microbiological activity to turn the residue into organic matter, as well as we want to protect the soil loss through prevention from the erosion. And if we also working on the unstable surface, so we would like to establish a surface configuration more stable of the soil, and also incorporation or mixing of material, especially lime, especially organic material, cow dung, chicken manure, so which is free fertilizer nowadays for uh, smallholders, for the farmers, for any kind of crop cultivation. Okay, and lastly is to disintegrate of materials. So this include the pulverization of mechanism of the soil. Okay, if you imagine this is pretty much the profile of the soil, and imagine if the soil is not ready, so how can the roots of the soil of the plant could penetrate to get all the nutrient? So the tillage concept, we have a tools which is an individual tools engaging elements, and tillage implement which is a set of tillage tool, an assembly of the tillage tool, and associate framework, wheels, control element like hydraulic valve, hydraulic actuator, the tire, and etc. We call it tillage implement. The tool is individual that engaging to the soil. Okay? To get confused. And primary tillage uh, is the initial soil manipulation after a period of crop or fallow. So basically, it's the first tillage operation to prepare the soil uh, prior to the crop cultivation. Secondary tillage is a further soil manipulation. So we manipulate soil for specific purpose. Uh, Normally, we want to prepare the soil to make a better quality for the crop growth. We pulverize the soil more in finer size than the first primary tillage. And as contrast with the other two, we have another one term is conventional tillage, which is basically a system of primary and a secondary tillage. Okay, combination. In this stage, normally we're talking about rotavator. Okay, so the tillage capable to reduce or zero conservation tillage, which is a system in which secondary tillage is eliminated or reduced. So this is we are talking about no-till tillage concept. So tillage tools can be classed into a few categories. First, moldboard, which is a symmetrical three-side wedge. This is like a plate. Okay? Tine, plain surface soil engaging element. Rolling. Uh, excuse me. Tine, a plain surface soil engaging element, which is maybe can be flat or curved, vertical, and rolling element, uh, moving element tool, either powered or ground driven by unit with specific purpose. And as a example, this is you have seen this a lot. Example of equipment at TPU. So we have a plowing, disc field cultivating, and planting. So planting is an example of the rolling as well as the mechanism to drop the seed. Yeah. And so it's another example of tillage instrument. We have a cultivator blade. We have a cutter blade a notch. It's like that's suitable for the heavy clay soil. Cultivator blade foot. So this one also designed to detecting the soil to move the soil away from the layer. And we have another one is the display concave. Okay. All right. Next, another example of a chisel plow, subsoiler, chisel plow heavy duty, and furrow V shape. And another one is cultivator shank, S-tine, sweep plate, mobile plow, coil shank, and rotary hoe. So which one of these is basically categorized as a categorized as primary or secondary tillage? So slowly we move on. Right? Two type of the implement that we want to learn in this class, in this topic. So normally we categorize the implement based on the operation sequence, primary tillage or secondary tillage or no tillage at all. We call it no tillage operation. Okay. So the primary tillage mainly is for the cutting and loosening the soil at the top soil layer, at most 90 centimeter depth. Okay. Moldboard plow is the most commonly used as the primary tillage capacity to break. So what soil is that? Normally it's heavy soil. So heavy soil I would say clay. Okay. Moldboard plow is able to turn over and cover the sod, crop and residue and weed. So this is the primary tillage operation. We normally want to incorporate the a big chunk of the soil at the first time first. And then another example of primary tillage is like the stubble, general purpose, clay soil, steep sod, blackish, chill, and etc. Using a singly or in a group for from two or large number of shares with width of each plow share between 25 to 40 centimeters or more. So this is basically preparing, saying that you can, in terms of the primary tillage, you can have many set of tillage tools, and then assemble in a frame, and then you can share maximum up to 45 centimeter wide. Okay. For example, we have here this harrow, bajak piring, okay, which is a direct drawbar or 3-point linkage, 3-point hitch for the transportation. So we have a wheel design also for the depth control and the transport with using the drawbar. Indeed, on the right hand side, we have ATV mounted disc harrow, which is considered lightweight. And we have also a design for stubble disc, which is less resistant from the soil. And in terms of the schematic design, we have a top link connection, frame, and a cross shaft, disc scraper, disc bracket, um, and then at the back we have a furrow wheel to control the direction of the cutting, the standard furrow wheel spring, standard for the frame, and frame extension. So this is pretty much the entire um, design for this. This is basically a simple design. Uh, the labeling. Okay. So sorry about the photo maybe a bit blur. So we are talking here about the angle of the cutting. So direction of travel must be proportion to the direction of tip angle. So in the Amali, we'll show you how it's actually um, in better scenario. So next we move on to the disc plow. Disc plow normally commonly categorized as primary tillage, comprising of a steel concave disc for of capable to cut about up to 95 centimeter diameter. So in this case, what is the maximum depth of the cutting? So if you think like maximum depth should be half of the diameter. So I think you will have general idea what would be the maximum depth. The disc is normally sharp and self-sharpening and serrated, edged and fitted with a self-cleaning scraper. And the draft force needed to put the disc is about the same as one moldboard share in similar soil condition. Okay. Alright, but the disc plow perform better in sticky, hard soil, ground, and many organic soil, and if necessary for the deep plow. So normally, if the ground is very heavy soil, dry, so we can utilize the primary tillage operation using a disc plow. Okay. Another example is chisel plow. Okay, chisel plow can be is categorized under primary tillage. A common tool with long shank and double-edged chisel, point about 6.4 inches. So 6.4 inches is about 15 centimeter width. Chisel is mounted on a frame in the gang. So with a few of them, combination and spacing of can be staggered. Can be a group of them about 30 centimeter or so. Chisel can cut, loosen, and stir the soil, but do a very little disturbance or turning over of the soil. And this is probably well adapted in dry soil area, conserving the mulch, which is useful for to preserve the soil as well as the water. Reaper or subsoiler is another example of the primary tillage application, similar to the principle with G-cell, but more heavily built and rigid for operation of 40 to 90 centimeter to loose deep soil layer. Deep soil layer. Sorry for the typo there. Which is to promote the movement of the water as well as for the root growth. Normally, we require heavy tractor up to between 40 to 60 kilowatts of power uh, to operate to pull one subsoiler in shank. So this is a huge tractor. In this case, you can see the special tractor using a track, so really good traction to the soil. While track laying tractor is required to operate three winged subsoil operating at 90 centimeter depth. Okay. So this is an example of the method mounting behind the tractor. We call it semi-mounted. We have at the wheel at the back. You can see the wheel, leather wheel, and mainly purposely for to control the depth operation. And other than that, we have also hydraulic hose to control the direction of the cutting as well as the level. Okay, we have a we utilize the power of the pulling drawbar power as well as for the 3-point linkage. Next is rotary tiller. Rotary tiller is categorized under two tillage operation. It can be primary, it can be secondary. Okay, so the method of rotary plow or a rotavator required a mechanical source, which is a PTO, to do rotation, as well as, I forgot to mention here, as well as the 3-point linkage to raise the unit up and down. The rotary plow consists of set of knife, tines, or rod which are rotated in the horizontal shaft and covered by metal sheet hood. The soil is chopped up by knife and thrown against the inside of the hood, which is as a result will be fine of the soil and is capable to lose soil structure depending on the forward speed. Okay, if you move faster, then you will have less efficiency in terms of the loosen up the soil. The rule of thumb, very loose but will increase the capital. So maintenance, energy and the cost compared to other primary tool. If you use extensively, uh, normally this unit used extensively in vegetable because the soil is already pulverized, it's already soft, so you don't need to have a heavy implement to operate. However, it's not recommended in the area where severe soil erosion to the wind and water flow, light and organic soil. So in this case, if the area is prone for the erosion or like very high wind intensity or water flow, so you might lose a lot of soil because of that nature. The tractor should be able to deliver 1 horsepower for each 1 inch effective width. So you can calculate if you have 1 inch is about 3 or 4 centimeter. So you're able to calculate or estimate what is the requirement for the horsepower of the tractor. If they attach to bigger bodies, that can be formed simultaneously. So normally, if we want to plant the vegetable, so we can directly attach the uh, the uh, the cultivator directly behind the tractor and make a bed for the cultivation. Rotary tiller is effective in cutting plant residue and mix with soil, but the plant material weeds are not covered with soil completely, unlike the small-bore plow. It is also effective for mixing fertilizer and other agrochemical soil, such as insecticide or weedicide. On the secondary tillage, after we done all the tillage operation for the first tillage operation, so normally the soil become loosen up a bit. So the goal is to improve the seed bed and the soil structure after the primary tillage. So the common tool is harrow, other than this spike tooth, spring tooth or rotary cross harrow. or you could also, here you can add a name as rotavator, rotary tiller, or rotavator. The mounting, T-point linkage, T-point hitch, drawbar or PTO, and the depth up to 30 cm from the surface. Okay, this is example of rotary hoe for the second operation, second tillage operation. Spike tooth harrow, spin tine harrow, roller harrow, rotavator. So this is one of the best example. Excuse me. Um, Example on the rotavator. As general, you can see that the figure 5 and figure 6, how it's actually pulverize the soil and incorporate all the mixing material, because all the soil will be forced and then hit the plate behind it, so they will be able to break it down into small pieces. Two blade configuration, you can have blade bite A, which is configuration is not exceed 18 centimeter, or three blade configuration. Okay, this is another example. The width normally measured from one end to end from the knife, first knife, and then the inner side, and then the last knife. That will be the width of the implement. Okay, and lastly we have the no-till operation without any tillage operation, mainly to conserve the soil and water. This application is applied for the planters directly after harvesting operation. Okay, so in this case, this is an example of how roller helps preserve the water uh, and also preserve reduce the erosion of the soil. So what it does basically leveling the soil as well as make it compact on the soil. So primary and secondary tillage operation, we have a rotavator, as well as at the same time we can form the bed for direct um, seedbed formation. And weeding. This is another example of tillage operation combination of the weeding. We have rotary blades and furrow. So while blade is moving forward, and then you can see the formation of the bed can be done using a furrow. And another example of a rotary blade. In this case, we make a bed. In the class, maybe I have to explain a bit on this. This plow and planting bed. Excuse me. Okay, plowing of the land. So this is a method of plowing of the land. You can have A, B, and C. So gathering. Well, I think we will go through this slowly. Okay. So if you use a furrow, back furrow, so this is another form of how you could save some soil and also like formation of the bed. Okay. So vertical force. Um, so normally when we are talking about the operation of the tractor, so we would like to go back for the basic equation, which is a pressure equal to force over the area. So what happens if you have the small shrinkage? So of course depend on the soil as well. So if you have less soil, less um, sorry, if you have a same force but the contact area is less, so that's what happened to figure C. You have a sinkage. What happened on the B? So there will be like stable, just relatively stable. Then C, while at no load A, of course you don't anticipate that the shear failure of the material. In this case, material is the soil. So relationship in terms of the vertical force. So while pulling the implements, just this topic, this figure just want to give you some background on the engineering aspect, what we actually concerned about the draft force. So behind it we have a line of pull. So X we have a PV and breaks into PS and PZ, direction of the force, and RT is the friction from the soil. So RT at the bottom here we have is actually reaction from the weight of the tractor itself, and W and both on both wheel, while on WT is actually the center of gravity of the tractor. So imagine like normally we have the restriction on the power as well as the traction that will be consider what will be the minimum, well, what will be the maximum weight of the implement that can be carried out at the back. Okay, so now we move on the soil conservation. This is basically a general goal of the conservation. I think you can do it by yourself, so I don't want to go through in detail. So again, this is a tillage system. This is basically towards sustainable application. Okay, so this one also you can take a look on the lecture notes. Alright, disadvantage of the we move on the next slide on the disadvantage of the implement. So we have a compaction issue, which is actually because of the implement you distort the root development, and thus you reduce potential yield. And also because of the implement is heavy, so you compact the soil is prone to high erosion during heavy rain. Other than that, what else? If you could think probably related with the water, related with the sustainable practice on agriculture, maybe you can add up some points on this. Alright, we come to the end. Basically, the questions on discuss advantage and disadvantage of the tillage operation and the difference between primary and secondary tillage operation. And probably you can ask yourself, probably that you can give an example of each category. Okay, so this is some terminology that we can use to understand what will be related to next topic also. So we use some of the terminology that I hope you are able to familiar with. Okay, so with that, thank you very much.